The typical home in Raleigh, North Carolina is $450,000. A typical single family house, $550,000. Real estate is getting expensive here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And it's not just us, right? Real estate in general has gone up so much in the past few years, making it less and less affordable to buy a home, especially if you're on the younger side and just starting out. So I've become increasingly more curious about alternative housing types that are more affordable, and that led me to condos. The median home price for a condo in Raleigh, North Carolina is $323,000. Not bad. And just last winter, that number was $260,000. Keep in mind, we're in summer right now, so as we head into the winter, these numbers are gonna fluctuate a little bit. So what is a condo? Well, it's essentially an apartment that instead of renting, you own. So it's gonna look very similar to an apartment building. You might be on the second, third, or fourth floor. There might be an elevator in it. These are especially popular in downtown Raleigh, but there's other parts of the triangle too where you can find an affordable condo. Now, when you own a condo, here's some things that you definitely should know. You do not own the land that the condo is on, even if you're on the first floor, even if there only is one level. You own the space within the walls of that condo, and everything else is shared common interest between you and all the other condo owners. This is obviously different from a house, and it's even different from a townhome where you do actually own the exterior of your unit and the land that it sits on. Now, here's the good news about that. That means that you have way less responsibility for maintaining your unit. You can only control what's inside of your condo. Here's the bad news. Not only do you have to pay for the HOA to manage the exterior of your condo, but you have no control, no creative oversight at all. There's a lot of rules, and we'll get into that in a bit, about what you can do with your condo. And if you do happen to have a condo that's multiple levels, kind of like an apartment building, then if you've rented before, you know this story. Depending on the age, depending on the soundproofing, you might have neighbors below you and above you, to your left and to your right. And that is an open door for noise issues. And of course, being an interior unit, you're probably not gonna have too many windows, meaning there won't be a lot of natural light in there as well. Now, this is a common issue with townhomes as well, but they tend to be larger, they live more like a home, and the walls tend to be better soundproofed. You don't have people above you. Now, let's talk about the fees, because this is, in my opinion, one of the biggest issues with condos and why I personally don't invest in them. Condos, especially the older ones, are notorious for having very hefty HOA fees that can easily go up quite a bit over time. Everything that's exterior of your unit is being covered by the HOA. Everything from the roof to the sidewalks to parking to the brick exterior or the vinyl exterior to the pool. Literally everything is covered by the HOA. And as these condos get older, those fees go up a bunch because there's a lot more maintenance to be done to keep up with the property. And unfortunately, whether you're in downtown or in North Raleigh or in Cary, these were all built 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, some 80 years ago, so they have a lot of work that needs done. The HOA fees are going to be very high. For reference, many single family homes have an HOA fee of maybe $50 a month, $100 a month, $200 on the high end if it's luxury. A townhome typically is around that $200 to $300 mark. Condos can easily be in the $4 to $5, sometimes higher range, and that is not accounting for assessments. And that's the second biggest con with condos that we need to talk about. Assessments are one-time fees that are charged to all homeowners, a shared expense to cover big maintenance items that they didn't have room for in the budget. And to be honest, a lot of condos struggle with financial management. A lot of condos are running in the red, and lenders won't even lend on these units because they don't have good financial management in place, meaning you're going to get assessed out the wazoo, and there's not a lot of limits to how much they can assess to you. Because at the end of the day, if all the units need a new roof, or if they need to replace the amenities, or if they need to upgrade the parking lot, whatever the case may be, somebody has to pay for it. And since everyone has shared ownership of all the common spaces, you are included in that list. These can be very unexpected and large financial burdens for condo owners who think they're getting an affordable property, but by the time they look at the large HOA fee and the constant assessments, that $260,000 condo is costing them way more than if they had gone with a townhome or even a single family house. So a few things to note about that. One, if you're looking for a condo, looking for a newer condo gives you a chance at lower HOA and lower assessments. Two, read what the condo's rules are on how often they can assess you and by how much. Also, how often they can raise the HOA and by how much. You also want to take note of how many units are in the condo complex. If you have 60 units and they have to replace a roof, then it might be way less expensive than if there's only 6 units, for example, and they have that same replacement cost. Now let's take a break from the negative. Let's focus on why condos are kind of cool. They're often, like I said, in like a downtown or kind of in the hotter parts of our market. They're typically within walking distance or attached to, say, a grocery store and some nearby shopping and dining. It makes it a real nice option for young people who want to be close to other young people, close to the action. Maybe they don't have a car or don't want to drive as often. Now, if you do own a car, keep in mind that these are not going to have garages 99% of the time. Usually you're allocated one parking spot, and sometimes there's not any other parking, so it may be hard for guests to visit. It may be hard if you have 2 people and they both have a car, and that's something you want to make sure that you get an understanding of before you purchase a condo. What's the parking situation going to be like? And you'll also find that they cater to that lifestyle with HOA amenities like pickleball courts and pools and gyms, clubhouses, you name it. In addition to providing amenities and doing maintenance, the HOA also is in place to keep uniformity throughout the complex. So they're going to set rules. We all know about HOA rules and how HOAs can be very restrictive. Some people love HOAs. They provide such needed oversight. They keep the community looking nice. They keep property values high. There's a lot to love about HOAs. Now, what people don't love about HOAs is the restrictiveness. And with condos, we discussed that you only own what's inside the walls. So you have, again, no options as far as the exterior of your unit. Sometimes they're very restrictive about even the color of curtains that you can have, or if you can have blinds on your windows, or if you can have a sign on your door. If you've ever lived in an apartment, then you know that there's many apartments, just like there's many condos, that don't allow pets or have very restrictive rules. Also, something that a lot of people don't know is that because condos have a much higher density of people living per space compared to townhomes and especially single family homes, they have to adhere to much stricter code. So when it comes to building code, safety regulations, they have to follow the high road, meaning you have to follow the high road. And for many, many reasons, including the parking situation, including everyone living closer together, many, many condos do not allow rentals whatsoever. And I've said this before in other videos, I'll always say this: if you want a rental property or a property that you could live in, rent out later on once you move out instead of selling, then making sure that a property is rentable both now and in the future is super important. And when it comes to HOAs, especially the high restrictive ones, which is the nature of a condo HOA, even if they allow rentals now, which is rare, they can change their mind at any point and there's not too much you can do about it. So for me personally, that's a lot of a risk. And that's exactly why I didn't do a condo above all other reasons. And that's why I didn't do a townhome either, is because of those restrictive HOAs. I looked long and hard for a property that didn't have an HOA so that I could do rentals. Not only rentals, but short-term rentals. And if you want to learn more about that, there's some videos here on the channel. But just know that if you own a condo, it might be hard or impossible to rent out later on, and you might have to sell. The final thing I want to touch on here about condos is when it comes to resale value and appreciation. In our market and in general across the US, condos typically appreciate at a slower rate than townhomes, and townhomes at a slower rate than single family. It's just about desirability. And in our market specifically, condos sit for a long time. They are definitely difficult to sell here in the Raleigh area, especially the ones that are on the older side and already have the high HOAs and the constant assessments. That's something that a lot of people just don't want to buy into. And it definitely does depend on your market. So if you're in a vacation market, for example, let's say you're in Wilmington, North Carolina on the beach, condos are very, very common. They're very appealing. A lot of them allow short-term rentals. And so that might be a great option for you. But here in Raleigh, in a typical city, condos are going to be a lot harder for both homeowners and investors. However, I do think that as long as you've watched this video and you're okay with the negatives that I mentioned about condos, they still can be a good option, especially right now when real estate has never been more expensive. What I want to encourage you to do is do your own research. If you're in the Raleigh market, then I want to be your guide on this. I want to give you all the information and help you make the right decision for you. All you have to do is call the number below, or you just click the link in the description, set up a time to chat with me and my team. Be glad to go over any questions that you have. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about the different types of real estate or the different areas in and around Raleigh, then watch one of these videos next, and I'll see you there.